My name is Vani Kamra, and I am a sales and marketing podcaster for LawAccounting. Thank you, Mary, for taking the time to speak with me today and sharing your experience with LawAccounting. To start, I'd love to hear a few words about Fillmore Spencer LLC, a distinguished full-service law firm based in Provo, Utah. As a valued client, your insights into the implementation and integration of LawAccounting are incredibly valuable to us. So I'd like to start off with a few questions on your role and expertise. So can you share your role at FS Law and how it relates to managing financial and operational workflows?
Sure. I am the marketing director, which kind of puts me in an interesting spot to be part of financial software implementation and firm-wide case management software implementation. But my background is in digital marketing, and I'm just kind of a data junkie. So at agencies where I used to work, I had a lot of access to data about conversion values and lifetime customer values that were not easily available to me in our old practice management and accounting software. So we're a mid-sized firm where everybody's encouraged to pitch in where we can and voice our opinions. And so when I kind of veered outside my lane and started pointing out those limitations with our system, I actually found out that most of our leadership were also looking for more updated features and better reporting. We just hadn't found anything that met our needs in the past.
Right. So now that you mentioned limitations, so my question to you is, what were the primary limitations or challenges that FS Law faced in financial management before implementing LawAccounting?
So we previously used a software that was a combination case management and financial accounting system. And I'm not an accountant or bookkeeper. So my understanding of that side of it was pretty limited coming in. I just knew what reporting was and wasn't available to me. It was very, very difficult and cumbersome to collect information based on anything but an accounting time period. So if I wanted it based on like practice area or case type or referral source, that wasn't available to me. Our firm had been using it for like 20 years, and we built all of our processes kind of tailored into this very cumbersome, very limited system. And so I think once we started looking at other systems, we saw how limited we were. We saw how archaic a lot of our processes were, but we had a really hard time finding something that we could transition to that would update and make it a lot easier for us to just streamline and automate processes, because our old system had no automation available at all and reporting was really difficult. But to try and get the processes we built for that system into something modern was really, really difficult.
Right.
Our PI team moved into Filevine for just case management, and we saw all that it was capable of and have fallen in love with automation and just that it's cloud-based and it's so connected and it makes it so simple to automate so many parts of our processes and build out our workflows in predictable ways. And we had to keep our accounting separate in the old system. So for the last 3 years, we have been double entering everything. So if there were expenses that we needed to recoup, they were in Filevine to keep track of them, and then they had to be put into the old system in order to get paid for them or to write checks for them. And a lot of the time, it was not being reported correctly. It would be like decimal points were off or just like typos all over the place. And specifically the last 6 months, as I've been involved in trying to correlate the data, kind of like balance the checkbook, it's just been kind of a nightmare. So I counted it up yesterday. I think it was 16 demos of accounting softwares. And a lot of them are cloud-based. A lot of them are customizable. A lot of them are respected, like they either in the legal world or just in the accounting world. I didn't know what I didn't know, but none of them could do a few of the very essential processes for us. We have a unique fee split structure. So our payment allocations at every other software that we looked at, it was going to require that every time we wanted to allocate a payment, we were going to have to manually create 4 journal entries in order to split the fee all the ways that we needed to. And based on human nature, based on how we all work, that is going to create so many mistakes, so many problems.
Right.
And so I talked to so many people who said it couldn't be done automated. It had to be done manually. When I talked to Vikram, and he was like, yeah, we could build out that process, no problem. I was so skeptical. I was really anxious about whether or not that was true. And as we've implemented it, it's absolutely true. And as we encountered other systems that I didn't know were unique, I didn't know that they were strange because I don't have an accounting background. But as we explain them to people who do have accounting backgrounds and are familiar with software, they're like, oh, that's a really unique thing you're doing there, but we can accommodate that. We'll just have to customize the platform a little. And so every step along the way, we've customized and customized, and LawAccounting has become FS LawAccounting. Fillmore Spencer's accountant.
Right. So now I can finally ask you, like, how has the integration between Filevine and LawAccounting enhanced your ability to manage these case matters and financial operations seamlessly?
So in our PI cases, like I mentioned, we used to be recording an expense in Filevine in order to track it with the case cost. And then again, in our old accounting software, so that we could cut the check and actually pay the vendor, and so that we could put it into the settlement and get paid. And all over the place, we were getting decimal points wrong. It would be 43 instead of 34 cents, or the vendor's name, the proper name would be put on the check, but then just like Bluffdale Police would be in Filevine. And so they weren't correlating. It was taking a lot of extra work. And right now with LawAccounting, it's all seamless. You type it in once and it gets pushed from printing the check in LawAccounting straight back into Filevine. And it's perfect. There's no room for error there at all. And people who work in Filevine will feel this pain. I was responsible for building our settlement statement, which probably accounted for weeks and weeks of time I spent building report fusion, trying to make sure that we could accommodate total money offers and new money offers. And we were pulling in all of our medicals and all of our expenses, liens and collections, and accounting for payments and accounting for write-offs and reductions, and then our fees. And if we were taking a reduction, and I don't have to worry about any of that. It's all managed through LawAccounting. The settlement workflow has it's major quality of life upgrade for me. And it's also, again, if you record a reduction as you're working through your settlement breakdown, it's recorded back into Filevine. So everything is just perfect. Our trust payment request, the workflow that we designed, begins in Filevine, so that not all of our users have to start in LawAccounting. So any member of our team, from the receptionist to a managing partner, could go into Filevine and create a trust request as a retainer, and it gets pushed into LawAccounting, which creates a link that's communicated back to Filevine. We send it to the client, they make the payment, and then we can start working on their case. It's all seamless. So those who don't want to be deep in the accounting software don't have to be, and all of our data is very, very clean, which I just love.
It's interesting how you brought up data, because that was my next question too. So can you share like examples of how the integration ensures like data accuracy and consistency across financial records and case management?
Yeah. So while we've been working with both file binding and our old accounting system, we had a lot of those just minor discrepancies. Like I said, just digits were switched, or names weren't exactly right, or often a check would be written and it wouldn't be put in the right place to be allocated to the right matter. There was just a lot of the duplication, the required duplicate work was just creating a lot of errors. And now there is no duplicate work. If you created the expense in one system, it is in the other system. You don't have to do it again. So you only do it once and you do it right, and nothing's unaccounted for or assigned to the wrong matter. And if there's a typo, it's in both places, and it's more likely to get caught. And it's just been fantastic.
So are there any like specific workflows or features that make the connection particularly effective for your team?
So the distinct medical and expenses and liens are so helpful when creating settlement statements and finalizing them, and then creating the disbursements and actually writing the checks. That's game changer. It's so much simpler than what we've been doing. We connected our staff assignment section in Filevine into LawAccounting. So where we used to manually set up our fee splits, now we just indicate the person in one person field in Filevine, and LawAccounting pulls that in, and all of our fee splits are just automated based on that one box. All of our fee splits for every payment that is ever made on that. Yeah, you never have to worry about it again if you fill the box once, which game changer for us. And my favorite is that we can report on referral sources. So I can determine the value, the return on our ad spend or other marketing investments as often as I want to pull a report for any window of time. Lifetime customer values and customer acquisition costs are not soft numbers anymore. I'm not guessing. It's very clear and easy to report and say, these metrics are hard, solid data that I have confidence in. And so when I'm telling people, this isn't the advertising telling me to be better closers, I can say that with confidence, which when you're the marketing director in a room full of attorneys, having strong data behind you is really important to make a step like that.
Yeah. So you spoke about a lot of features, but are there any key features, I want to say, of LawAccounting that had the most impact on improving FS Law's financial management process?
Yes. So those settlement statements, the settlement workflow, pulling all of the data in, creating the settlement, finalizing the settlement, and then creating the disbursements. That's going to save us so much time. Also, on our old software, I don't know if we had intentionally built a very cumbersome and hard to read invoice structure a long time ago and just stuck with it. But when we initially moved into Filevine, we tried to recreate our statements, our monthly invoices in Filevine, but their templates are really cumbersome and you're limited to what fields you're allowed to dig into those. So we actually couldn't recreate it. So with LawAccounting, what we can do is we can create a statement for our attorneys to review. And then once they've reviewed it and approved all of their time entries and expenses, and it's pushed into LawAccounting, it goes into this beautiful, tailored, updated version that includes the settlements, or excuse me, the trust statement that we've always had. It includes all of the payment history that we've always had that we couldn't build into a file buying template, but it's just exactly what we want it to be. It's in LawAccounting that way. And then from LawAccounting, we can email those statements out. Whereas with our old software, because like I said, we started it in the early 2000s, emailing out statements wasn't reasonable at that time. And so it didn't have that ability. So we were printing a statement, scanning it, attaching it to an email, and mailing it to people for thousands of invoices every month. And now all of those will just go out in batches very, very simply. So our receptionists and honestly the rainforests are going to benefit because that's thousands of pieces of paper that we're not going to print, scan, and shred every month. Yeah. So that process, our monthly billing workflow has dramatically improved.
So you spoke a lot about like data in general. So are there any challenges unique to law firms that LawAccounting addresses effectively?
So for us, very, very specifically, I think we have a unique fee split, a unique payment allocation that, from what I can tell, is different than anybody else's. But every law firm has a fee split. Every law firm is taking origination credit for someone. It's allocating differently if you're a partner or shareholder or an associate. So everybody's going to have some version of the problem that we in LawAccounting fixed it immediately. So automated, you can't break it. Nobody has to touch it. There's no moving to attach. So that is really important to law firms. A lot of the other accounting softwares that I looked at did have features available for trust accounting. As attorneys, we're holding a lot of money that we haven't earned yet. It's not ours. And so there are a lot of ethical rules involved. And LawAccounting has made it for us where other softwares account for that. LawAccounting has made it seamless, where we can see exactly what is earned, what is unearned, what is what checks should be written from a trust account and what checks should be written from the general account. And it's very difficult to make any sort of mistake that could get us in ethically murky waters just through oversight. It made it easy to be at.
Other law firms considering the solution, what would you highlight as its most compelling advantages?
The customization
Right.
to our processes was huge. If you're a firm that's been around as long as we have, then you probably have a lot of unique workflow that you've developed, that you've had meetings that people had to vote on, and it's so hard to change insurance processes in a law firm. I can't even put it into words. So having the software bend instead of us having to bend has been very important. And I think it's important to a lot of law firms that have those types of processes that don't necessarily jive with normal accounting processes, but changing them would require, a majority vote of a bunch of people who don't want to think about accounting. So that was really important for us. And then just knowing that we could customize permissions within LawAccounting. So people who needed to be able to print a check could get in and do everything they needed to do, but they didn't need to be able to create journal entries and they didn't need to be able to see a P&L. We can limit their entitlement within LawAccounting so they can see and do exactly what they need to see and do without having the free reign on all of our accounting, which was really important to us. And I think a lot of law firms.
Right. So I feel like I see the system evolving to meet like FS Law's future needs. So my last question to you is, do you have any feedback, whether that's from your team or any improvements that you'd like to see of the implementation of the product or just the system in general?
So I think, and I don't, like I said, I'm not an accountant and I'm not an attorney. So I would love to see a future where we don't have to print a check every time we're moving money from our trust accounts into our operating account. Like that's thousands of checks a month. It seems like just based on every other type of financial transaction that we can make online now, there's got to be a way to record that so that there's paper trail and it's all ethical, but we don't have to like print a check and then make a partner sign a check and then deposit a check in order to move that money. I think it's on the roadmap. I've mentioned it to enough people that have said it's coming. That I think it's coming, but since it is a trusted account, I'm sure that there are a few extra hoops to jump through. But that's the biggest fun for me. Just not having to print all of those checks would be amazing.
Well, I hope that happens. I see it coming. So yeah, that was basically it. Thank you again, Mary, for your time and valuable insights. Your perspective will undoubtedly help other firms understand the benefits of LawAccounting and its seamless integration with Filevine. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.